Good evening, you're watching AWANI Tonight with me, Faye Kwan. The Selangor Police Subaquatic Forensic Unit recovered a smartphone believed to be linked to the murder of Nur Farah Kartini Abdullah. They found the device after conducting a search operation in a drain within an oil palm plantation in Kampung Sri Kledang.
Based on media reports, the police recovered the smartphone at 12:21 p.m. after an hour-long operation. Earlier, police and the Malaysian Fire and Rescue Department personnel arrived at the scene around 9:50 a.m. to search for evidence. Members of the Kuala Kubu Baru Fire and Rescue Station, assisted by volunteer firefighters, were observed pumping water from the drain before the Subaquatic Forensic Unit commenced their search. The suspect in the murder case of a former University Pendidikan Sultan Idris UPSI graduate was also brought to the scene today to provide a demonstration to the area around the drain for about 5 minutes. Nur Farah Kartini's body was discovered in an oil palm plantation area in Kampung Sri Kledang, Hulu Selangor, around 6 p.m. on Monday. She had been reported missing since July 10th after delivering a rental car to a customer. Subsequently, a 26-year-old man, also a policeman stationed in Perak, was arrested and remanded for 7 days until 22nd July to assist in the investigation under Section 302 of the Penal Code.
Amendments to the Medical Act 1971, which seeks to improve provisions regarding the registration of medical practitioners as specialists, were passed in the Dewan Rakyat today. The bill was unanimously passed via voice note after being tabled for the second and third readings by Health Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad and debated by 20 members of Parliament.
Dr. Zulkifli also gave assurance that the amendment to the Act would come into force as soon as possible. The amendment to the Act was aimed to increase the number of medical specialists, whether through the Parallel Pathway Program or the Local Master's Medicine Program. Dr. Zul added that the amendment would recognize the Health Ministry as one of the institutions capable of providing specialized training, similar to local higher learning institutions. It was also one of the government's solutions in overcoming the problem of graduates from a program who are not listed in the National Specialist Registrar.
The 6 expelled Bersatu MPs who got to keep their parliamentary seats are still considered Perikatan Nasional MPs, says Dewan Rakyat Speaker Tan Sri Johari Abdul. According to him, he has not received any written notice from Perikatan, indicating that the MPs have ceased to be part of the opposition coalition.
Johari said that Bersatu has written to him and not to Perikatan. He said Bersatu had to write to Perikatan first to inform of the withdrawal of any MPs from their political coalition. The 6 former Bersatu MPs who declared support for Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim remain parliamentarians despite ceasing to be party members. Their memberships were revoked after they failed to pledge their loyalty to the party in writing by May 31st, in keeping with recent amendments to the Bersatu Constitution. Selat Kelang Assembly Person Datuk Abdul Rashid Asari, who also backed the Selangor government, got to keep his state seat as well. Bersatu has said it will take legal action against the 6 MPs and the sole assembly person who backed Anwar.
Meanwhile, the aerotrain service at Kuala Lumpur International Airport is expected to resume operations in the first quarter of 2025. This follows the scheduled completion of the aerotrain replacement plan at Terminal 1 by January 31st.
The Transport Ministry said Malaysia Airports Holding Berhad had signed a new agreement with Alstom Transport Systems last month to expedite the project timeline. The 25-year-old aerotrain service was suspended in March 2023, following frequent breakdowns and public criticism. MAHB attributed the breakdowns to trip circuit breakers and technical difficulties. In the interim, shuttle bus services were implemented as a temporary measure between the main terminal and satellite buildings.
Penang plans to ban foreign cooks from preparing certain dishes in all hawker stalls, food courts and coffee shops starting next year. The Island City Council says the proposal is 90% complete and pending approval in the next council meeting. The state government previously implemented a ban on foreign cooks for all hawker centres and food courts under the Island City Council. It applies to 13 types of local hawker food, including nasi lemak, asam laksa, char kway teow, Hokkien mee and curry mee. Councillor Tan Su Siang said the ban would now be extended to privately owned hawker centres, food courts and coffee shops. This follows complaints from locals on the declining quality of local food prepared by foreigners hired to run the stalls. However, the ban will not affect cafes, restaurants, hotels and franchises offering similar food on their menus.
We'll be back with more after the break. Stay tuned.
Kepelbagaian raksasa adalah milik anda untuk dipilih. Bersama kita lawan gergasi.
Freeze on the ground. Do we have a plan?
Dan ikuti pengembaraan di mana cabaran hebat menanti.
You're gonna need to be brave now.
Himpunan raksasa untuk anda. Godzilla Kong The New Empire. Percuma untuk semua pelanggan Movies Pack. Stream bila-bila masa, apa jua cara, semuanya di satu tempat.
Welcome back. The Malaysian Media Council bill is in its final stages and is expected to be tabled during October's parliamentary sitting alongside Budget 2025. Washla Naidu from the Centre for Independent Journalism weighs in on the bill's progress so far.
The bill, to a large extent, right, in terms of the role and involvement of the Pro Tem Committee, our roles almost concluded. So, except for, of course, a couple of things that perhaps may require continued discussion, negotiation, but there should not be any further delays in terms of the substance of the bill. I think it's all ready. A lot of it's been negotiated, and it should be ready in time for October. The question is not so much whether the bill will be ready. I think barring any other catastrophe or any other issues, it should be tabled, ready for tabling. The concern would be how many other bills are going to be tabled, what's going to be on the agenda, and will there be enough time for the debate.
With consultations on establishing the Media Council bill ongoing since 2020, Washla noted potential consequences of further delaying the bill.
It's 4 years down the road and we still haven't seen the passing of it. And continued delay would continue to, I would say, exacerbate the current media environment, because one of the intention, object and purpose of this self-regulatory process is that we are in a critical need to, one, harmonize our standards in code of conduct. There isn't one, I would say, harmonized standard that's accepted by all stakeholders, and in fact initiated, drafted, and adopted by all stakeholders. So that's going to be critical, because whose standards are you using, right? And what are some of the very minimum ethical and responsible reporting standards, right? And every other day we see issues around headlines which are, just purely focused on sensationalism. We are looking at content that can be very biased, can be very prejudicial, xenophobic, racist, homophobic, transphobic, misogynistic content. So all these are problematic because we don't have one set of standard and code of conduct to govern the media industry, right? The second thing, the delay will continue to exacerbate the fact that we don't have a clear mechanism to deal with disputes. So all we have now are the existing laws, which makes the government the sole arbiter of what is right and what is wrong, and for people to go through the legal channels using the existing laws and possibly function. It takes away not just self-regulation, but it takes away a more creative way of mitigating and dealing with disputes. So this will continue.
On to international news. The 6 foreigners found dead in a luxury hotel room in Bangkok died from cyanide poisoning,
according to Thai authorities. Initial post-mortem results showed traces of the lethal chemical in each of the victims' bodies. Doctors are still awaiting further tests to determine the exact cyanide levels in their blood, but CAT scans showed no signs of blunt force trauma on the dead. Police discovered cyanide on drinking glasses and a teapot in a room at the Grand Hyatt Erawan Hotel, where the victims, all of Vietnamese ethnicity, including 2 US nationals, were found dead on Tuesday. They were all last seen alive when food was delivered to the room Monday afternoon. Authorities believe one of the victims poisoned the others before taking their own life. Police investigations, including interviews with relatives of the dead, suggest that a dispute over debt related to an investment may have been the motive. Bangladesh has ordered schools and universities across the country to close indefinitely after 6 people were killed in protests over quotas in government jobs. The clashes have intensified as demonstrators and pro-government student groups attacked each other with bricks and bamboo rods.
Police fired tear gas and used rubber bullets to disperse the clashing groups. Student activists said hundreds of people had been injured in the attacks. Officials say 3 people were killed in the southern port city of Chittagong and 2 in Dhaka, while 1 student was killed in the northern city of Rangpur by a stray bullet. The students have demanded an end to a quota system that reserves 30% of government jobs for specific groups, including children of veterans from the country's 1971 War of Independence against Pakistan. Critics say the system unfairly benefits the families of pro-government groups who support Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Although the government abolished the quota system in 2018 following protests, a court ordered its reinstatement in early June, sparking the latest round of demonstrations.
Former US President Donald Trump says he thinks Taiwan should pay the US for defense, calling into question Washington's support for Taiwan should he win back the White House in November's presidential election. His remarks came during an interview with Bloomberg Businessweek when asked whether he would defend Taiwan against China.
Trump said Taiwan should pay the US for its defense as it does not give the country anything, saying that the US was no different than an insurance company. The US sells Taiwan billions of dollars in weapons under legislative obligations to provide it with the means to defend itself. These sales markedly increased under Trump's presidency. However, Trump's latest comments suggest his support for Taiwan is not guaranteed. Trump also repeated accusations that Taiwan had taken almost 100% of the US semiconductor industry. Taiwan produces more than 90% of the world's most advanced chips, mostly through the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC, the world's largest producer. TSMC shares closed 2.4% lower in Taiwan after the release of Trump's comments. Taiwan Premier Cho Jung-tai, responding to Trump's comments, said Taiwan and the US have good relations despite the lack of formal ties and is dedicated to bolstering its own defenses.
Over in Tokyo, 14 Japanese high school students were rushed to the hospital on Tuesday after consuming super spicy potato chips. The group, consisting of 13 girls and 1 boy, suffered minor symptoms but remained conscious after sharing the snack.
Around 30 students were reportedly eating the R18 Plus curry chips during recess when some of them started complaining of nausea and acute pain around their mouths, prompting calls to emergency services. Known for their extreme spiciness derived from the ghost pepper, the chips were brought to school by one of the students. Its manufacturer, Isoyama Corp., issued an apology over the incident and wished the students a swift recovery. Their website advises individuals with high blood pressure, weak stomachs, and those under 18 against consuming the chips due to their spicy nature.
That wraps up AWANI Tonight. I'm Faye Kwan. Thank you for watching and good night.